Okay, everybody. My name is Barrett Jensen. I'm a senior at Liberty University. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the cost of operations for the four aircraft that I have chosen. So to start us off, I got our block speed and our yearly utilization here for the same four aircraft that I've been using the past couple weeks, the Kodiak Grand Caravan, King Air 260, and the Cessna Sky Courier. So to start us off, we got the Kodiak with 168 for the block speed. It's a yearly estimated utilization per hour, or not per hour. The hours per year is 623. So that one's going to be the most utilized out of the four aircraft. And then we move on to the Grand Caravan. That block speed is 178 with their yearly utilization of 588 hours. And then the Cessna Sky Courier with 202 block speed, that utilization is 518. And then the King Air, our fastest aircraft of the four, with 286 block speed, and then 367 estimated yearly usage. And then we will move on to our yearly costs here. On my graph here, you can't really see the cost per hour because the yearly cost is so much bigger than that. So I threw them right here for you. We got the Kodiak to start us off, the cheapest of the four aircraft at $649,000 a year, a little bit more than that, $380 with its cost per hour at $1,043. And then the second cheapest, the Grand Caravan at $708,000 with $1,200 per hour there. And then the Cessna Sky Courier at $1.5 million per year with an hourly cost of $2,998. And then the King Air, the fastest and most expensive of the four, I guess not the most expensive. Wait, is it the most expensive? No, not quite. Okay, not quite the most expensive. Second most expensive. 1.2 for the King Air, and then 3,365 per hour for that. So I guess it kind of is. But that's just between the estimated yearly utilization and the cost per hour. King Air here, obviously, you're only going to be using that 317 hours out of the year compared to the Cessna, I think was a little bit more than that at around 500. So out of the four of these, based on these numbers, I think the King Air is going to be a little bit better for you. It's a little bit expensive, more expensive than the Kodiak and Cessna, but you're only going to be spending about 300 hours in that aircraft because of the fast block speed that it has, compared to the Kodiak and the Grand Caravan, which are the two cheaper options. Those are a little bit slower, so you're going to spend a lot more time in those aircraft. Yeah. So the the topic that I chose out of Chapter 5 this week was management skills. I think this is super important for any aviation business to have, not only just my fictitious company, but any corporation that is going to be involved in aviation business, because it takes a lot of management skills to run the aviation business side of things for a corporation. You got to have communication skills, time management skills, decision making, and conflict resolution. I think those four are pretty big skills that anybody needs to have if they're going to be managing an aviation business. So for our fictitious company, I'm not sure they would necessarily have an aviation manager, but even the CEO needs these kind of skills. Communication, that kind of goes hand in hand with conflict resolution. If anyone of your employees is upset about something, you got to be able to communicate with them and try and figure out what you can do in order to help them find a resolution between the two of you. But you got to have the ability to get your ideas across to all your employees and your corporation, and the people under you, even the people above you. If they do have an aviation manager, you have to be able to communicate to the CEO, okay, this is our plan of action, this is how we're going to do things, stuff like that. You have to keep them up to date with everything. And then decision making, I think, is another huge skill that an aviation manager needs, or a CEO needs. You got to be able to decide the schedule, maintenance costs, cost per year, all that kind of stuff. Who's going to be doing what, when, that kind of thing. Decision making is a big skill that you need to have, as well as time management. Time management is going to be a big thing for aviation business, just because you're going to have so many flights, especially for this fictitious company that we have. The CEO is going to be traveling so much. You got to have that good time management skill in order to be like, okay, we have to get the CEO to this city at this time in this amount of time in order to get him to as many locations as possible. So yeah, I think management skills is going to be a very big topic and something that every aviation business needs to have going into that. And then the biblical interpretation, I guess, or I don't know. The Bible verse that I chose is Proverbs 18, verse 2. And it reads, "A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion." So I chose this because I think as an an aviation manager or a CEO, you have to take time to understand the circumstances that you're in, especially with conflict resolution, time management, decision making. You can't just do what you want to do all the time. You have to weigh all the benefits, all the costs, and make a decision based off of that. Especially with communication, conflict resolution, you have to be willing to understand instead of just speak your opinion 24/7. There's no wisdom in that. It's just blind foolishness, like Proverbs 18:2 says. So, thank you so much. That's my presentation.